Welcome in the very first episode of From the Mailbox. In this series, I'm going to be showing you guys cool gaming stuff that I got recently, and we'll be able to have a discussion about it. So let's start with the very first item. I think the one I want to start with is probably this one. This is an item that I bought a very long time ago, or maybe received for Christmas. I'm not sure anymore. And it's called Encyclopedia Eorzea. So if you're a fan of 14, you probably know what this is. It compiles all the lore info you could possibly want in the game inside one book. And it also comes with in-game items whenever you buy it, which is super cool. The very first volume covers up to a certain point in the game, and then as they release expansion, they have to they add new lore, so there's no way to get that information outside of the game and not inside that book. So what they did is they made sequel book, which is this one. So this book is Encyclopedia Eorzea 2, which is the one I bought recently. It has some information, but again, it's not complete because they've released new patches and new expansions again since this release. I think this released a couple years ago even, but I hadn't bought it yet. So I just took the opportunity to get this one as well. And I got Eorzea Encyclopedia Volume 3. So now I have the entire collection. This one covers even more recently. Obviously, anything that's in Downtrail, which is a brand new expansion, and the patch content, I think, from Endwalker is probably not in this book, but I'm assuming they're going to release a volume 4 at some point that includes the lore for that expansion and that content in the game. But yeah, so I got all the books. They're filled with super cool lore stuff about the zones, the dungeons, the monsters, the gear. Really, really nice. It's super well made too. These are really, really beautiful books. There's even like big maps and stuff, and I'm a huge fan of, like, I collect strategy guides because I like the way they look outside of just the use of the strategy guide. I really enjoy the way they look inside and the details and the art and stuff. And so whenever I can get my hands on a book, even if it's a lore book that has like maps with like information and stuff, like it's I always love that. It looks really nice. And also, like, there's a lot of like concept arts in there, so if you're a fan of art from video games, you probably would enjoy these books. I'd say even if you don't play FF14, but especially if you do play FF14, you probably would enjoy these even more. So yeah, these are the first few items that I got. I did get some gaming stuff. So a little while ago, I had ordered and I had received Trails from Zero. Actually, I had pre-ordered Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure. I'm not big on the Trails series, and not because I'm not a fan, but just because I haven't played them yet, really. I only played the very first Trails in the Sky, and I started the second chapter, but I stopped because I'm waiting for the inevitable port to modern consoles and or inevitable remake if they do make one at some point. And there's been a lot of teasing going on that they're going to do that, so I'm waiting with bated breath. But in the meantime, what I've been doing is I've been collecting all the Trails games I could get. So I got these when they got announced, and I immediately pre-ordered them, and I have them physical. So I'm going to be able to enjoy them whenever I do finish with the Trails in the Sky series. But this is not what I got recently. What I bought recently was even more Trails titles. I got Trails of Cold Steel 3 and 4, the new PS5 edition. I'm still missing 1 and 2. I don't have Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2, and I don't have Trails from Reverie. Those I still need to order at some point, but I did get Trails Through Daybreak. So I'm mostly caught up, I would say. I'm missing 3 games basically to be collection complete outside of the Sky trilogy, which I do own on PC on Steam, but I would rather have physical on the console. So I did get those. I'm very excited to play those at some point. They look so cool. I really love the art, and I love the storytelling that Falcom is doing. I really think they're super talented devs. And yeah, I'm excited to get into that series. So if you're a fan of this series, let me know in the comments below, and let me know which one is your favorite, because I know there's a lot of different ones, and there's a lot of different opinions about which one is the best one or whatever. So some people swear by the Zoology on the Switch that released, like Zero and Azure. Some people are super big fan of Sky. Some people really like Cold Steel 1 and 2, and not so much like 4, for example. Like, I know 4 is a bit of a contentious one. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this franchise. The very next thing I bought, in fact, I bought this super recently. I got this like yesterday, I think. It's a title that I had played the demo. I think that my playthrough of the demo is on the channel even, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super funny. I liked the art style, and I wanted to get the game. And whenever the game released, I wasn't doing so hot financially, so I couldn't really kind of buy it right away. but I did end up buying it now because it was on deep discount on Amazon. I think this cost me 15 bucks, which is extremely cheap for a physical edition also, and for a physical of a PS5 edition. So without further ado, I did buy Eternites. So that's another game that is a bit of a contentious title. I don't think everybody enjoyed it. I do think that a lot of big YouTubers liked it enough, and that kind of convinced me that the game was worth it. But after playing the demo, I was fully sold. I thought the demo was super great, and even if it ends up being kind of a mid game, I'm still extremely glad that I got it physical, especially for such a cheap price. And the next item I got is another item for my Switch collection. So I've been collecting all the Final Fantasy games on Switch that I could get. So right now I have FF 1 through 6. I got 10 and 10-2, and I got 12 on the Switch. I was still missing a few titles, as you can tell. And I recently bought this one because, again, it was fairly cheap. And I got FF7 and FF8, the dual kind of pack there. So I have the original FF7 game, and then the original, there's only one version, but 8. I do have the 7 remasters and stuff, like the remake versions and everything back on there on PS5. I bought like a Rebirth and Remake, and I got Crisis Core also. But I did want to get the original experience somehow portable, ideally. And so, yeah, I'm glad I got this one. The only title I don't have right now on the Switch is FF9, which would complete my collection. So I'm kind of waiting for a discount or something before I get that one. FF games were a big part of my childhood, but only a very few of them. So there's a lot of those that I've never played before. And so right now I'm going through some of them, and I'm playing them on my own and kind of discovering what I've been missing, essentially, and I've been having a blast. And so I do want to keep going and do all of the games in order. So I'm glad I got these, and it just increases my collection of games. And yeah, another thing I got, which again, to kind of fill in my collection, it's a bit of an interesting one for me because I wasn't big on Nintendo handheld devices, and not because I didn't like them, it's just because I didn't have any money to purchase them. I was more focused on upgrading my one single PC for streaming purposes and content creation purposes, and that was extremely expensive as time went on, or I was busy just getting the base consoles. Like I got every single PlayStation consoles, and I got every single Nintendo consoles, like the regular, like the home ones. But I didn't have any money to go into portable devices. So I never got into, like, back in the day, I remember like I played the original Game Boy, and I had a Game Boy Advance when I was a kid. I had 2 Game Boy Advances, actually. I had the purple one, and I had the one that flipped. That was kind of the Game Boy Advance SP, I think it was called, like Special Edition or whatever. And so I had those, but I never got into the DS, and I never got into the 3DS, which means I missed out on incredible games, and I always felt super bad that I couldn't play those. And so even though I still don't own that console, and I still won't be able to play those games as they were intended, at the very least I got the games to kind of fill out my collections. And I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. I really, even though I haven't played all of the titles yet, it's still my favorite franchise possibly ever. I got the Story So Far collection on PS4. I got the original games on PS2, all the ones that released, but there's a few titles that only released on portable consoles, which I did not have at the time. And so I bought Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days. I did play a bit of this on, I would say like probably like 3/4 of this on emulation back in the day. And I think it's possibly one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts games. And it sounds kind of weird because it's such a smaller title, and it's usually not considered to be like, it's not on the same pedestal as like 2, for example, or even 1 back in the day, or Birth by Sleep, for example. But like to me personally, I enjoy the story of this one so much, and I never had it physical. And unfortunately, in the Story So Far bundle for Kingdom Hearts, they're not playable. They basically just took all the cutscenes from this game and kind of bundled them together, and you're missing out a lot of information by not playing the game. So I did want to get like my hands on the actual physical version of this, and I also got Recoded, a game that released on, I think originally was on Game Boy Advanced, I want to say, and then they re-released it on DS with even more updated graphics and everything. And I've obviously never played this one either. So I got these two games. Now they're in Japanese, unfortunately, because I got them super cheap from Japan. I am trying to learn Japanese, so maybe one day I'll be able to understand, but I did order them from Japan because they were so cheap. I got them from eBay. I'm not a huge fan of eBay usually, but like at the price they were at, I think like each game cost me like 15 bucks physical. And if there's one thing you guys should know from Japan, if you weren't aware, they have a huge used market, like a massive one. They have like tons of store that just sell used games and used stuff, and people over there are extremely careful with their games. They're extremely careful, so they're in very good conditions for games that got used and that got shipped over to me. Honestly, like when I got them, they felt almost like new. So I'm very glad I got these, and I'm able to put them in my collection, even though they're not technically playable because I don't have the console. And even if I did, I'm pretty sure the region would be a problem. Like I would have to have like a console from that region maybe for them to work. I'm not sure, but I think they're region locked. And even if they're not region locked, they definitely are in Japanese. So that's another thing. Unless there's an option to put them in English, which I don't think there is, it would probably mean that they're not playable for me as they are. But I'd rather have them not playable, but have them in my collection and not having them at all. And speaking of Kingdom Hearts and speaking of strategy guides, I got myself the strategy guides for 2 Kingdom Hearts games. And again, I love collecting those. I do have the strategy guides for Kingdom Hearts Remix 1.5, the big hardcover one. I got the one for Chains of Memories, the original one that was like paperback. And I got paperback version for the first game and a paperback version for the second game. I just like strategy guides so much. And I really don't like the experience of going online and looking up a website or a game facts and stuff. I'd rather look at pretty pictures and maps and designs. And so I'm very glad I got 358 over 2 days, the guide, which is super cool to me. And I got this off of eBay. And again, it feels brand new. And this one is in English because I got it from the States. Anything with like maps and art and screenshots and stuff I like looking at. So it's really cool. I'm very happy that I got this one. And I got also the one for Dream Drop Distance, which is a game that I don't have in my collection, by the way. It is playable in the Story So Far bundle, but I don't have the 3DS version, which I would like to get eventually, just to round up my collection to have like every game on the original console. So, but I do have the guide for this one also, which I'm very glad I did. So yeah, so I'm excited to get to play that game eventually and look up the guide as I do so. And the final bit, the possibly the most important thing I got recently from the mailbox. I'm going to tell you guys a little story about this. So a little while ago, I want to say like maybe a year ago or so, I was approached by someone named Ryan Farmer, who designed a board game. And I like board games. I like playing board games. I like playing board games with friends and with Van. And my father is a huge fan of board games also. But what specifically interested me in this one is the idea behind the board game. This one is based around JRPGs. It was actually made by a JRPG fan, and the idea of the game is basically replicating the combat system from a JRPG, the sideways view from the old pixel like FF games, for example, but in board game format. And if you look up on the channel, I'm going to put the link somewhere on the video. But if you look up on the channel, I had an interview with Ryan. So I made 2 videos actually. One is the interview with Ryan. The other one is gameplay of the board game. And so what we did is back in the day, because the board game was on Kickstarter, it wasn't out, so I couldn't play it physically. And even if I did, I wouldn't have been able to play with Ryan because he lives in the States. So what we did is we played it online. We played it on Board Game Simulator or whatever, the thing on Steam. And I'm pretty sure you can still play the game over there if you want to, but I did want to get the physical version. So what I did is I after playing the game with Ryan and talking to him, I did order on Kickstarter. I got the super deluxe edition with almost everything in it. And I think I was missing like 1 or 2 add-ons, and Ryan was super kind to kind of provide those for me because I had forgotten to get them. And so now I have the full complete edition physically with me. It's called Encounters Shattered Wastes, And look at his box art. This is inspired by dragoons or lancers from FF games. And the box is super gorgeous. I love the minimal design, but it's still super pretty. It looks great on the shelf. And I'm gonna open this up and I'm gonna show you guys a few things. This looks great. The art alone on some of those designs. Look at the pixel art on some of these. Look at that. Look at how cool these are. So these are like monsters and bosses you can fight in the game on the sideway view. And there's a few of them even. That's the rule book, the giant rule book for the game. And you can see here the view for the battle system. So you have your characters on the right, and then you have the monster on the left. And there are positionals like a front row and a back row, and then different skills you can have. And there's even like a limit break mechanic in the game whenever you're fighting monsters. And what's cool is the Kickstarter was like, we actually unlocked a few perks, and one of the perks was Journey Mode. And Journey Mode, which is this, is another kind of rule set. And whereas in the original, you play a battle and you're done, Journey Mode, basically it tells a story. So you go from one boss to the other boss to the other boss to the other boss, and as you go into every single battle, you keep track of certain things. There are some information you get, some items you can get and stuff, and yeah. So there's a journey tracker in the back here where you can track your progress as you go through the journey, and the art is so pretty. It looks really cool. So anytime you go into one of these, you have the journey tracker on there, and you can see there's different things you can do and different scenarios. It's really well done. The game comes with the board, which is a solid kind of cardboard board, as you would get normally with any kind of board game. The one I got also came with the mat. So instead of having the physical board, I can have a mat that's rolled up. It's not open yet, but it's the same thing as the board is just rolled up on a mat, which I do prefer. And you can see some of the heroes up there, and there's some monsters also in there too. And these are some of the designs you can get with the base version, right? They're like they're kind of cardboard. But what's really cool is, because Ryan was kind enough, he upgraded me to the version where like they're on actual plastic. So like they're like little, you probably won't see them super well, but they're basically like the equivalent of whenever you get like a game and it has like standees that you can put in for like decorations and stuff of different characters in a game. It's the same idea, but with every single monster and every single character. So you got all the monsters here, and I think this one is all the this one is all the characters. And so I got all the standees, which is really nice. And what's cool is the game comes with a bunch of cards. So you get like the cards, the monster cards, right? But you also get the hero cards, and the hero cards normally come with, like just a regular kind of carton, a regular look. But because I got the special edition, I actually got the special kind of foil cards for all the different like classes or jobs in the game. So this one is Lancer. You have a monk here, and there's a bunch of different ones in the deck. And yeah, I can't wait to play the physical version of this game. I think it's going to be so cool. I'm actually going on vacation really soon. I'm going to vacation with my dad and my brother, who is big on JRPGs as well. So I'm very excited to get to show him the board game and actually play, because I talked to him about it and he was excited, but like he didn't play the online version. So like being able to play the physical version, I think is going to be super cool. So yeah, these are all the stuff that I got from the mailbox. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video, this little journey with me of all the recently purchased items that I got. And I do wonder, like, are you guys excited for any of these? Would you like to get the board game? If you're interested in the board game, by the way, I'm going to put in the link in the description where you can still order the game. It's still possible to get the physical version. It's not a Kickstarter only thing, but I have been told that the copies are flying fast. So if you are interested in the board game, click the link, get it fast, because there won't be infinite amount of copies. It's still an indie creator that made an indie board game. And yeah, so if you want to support Ryan, the link will be in the description below. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of all the games that I got. Maybe you're also a fan of collecting strategy guides. Let me know in the comments below. I'd be super curious. If you are a fan of the Trails franchise, let me know which one is your favorite. I'm excited to get into that series eventually, like properly get into it. And so as I go through it, whenever I reach one of those milestones where like people say, oh, this one is super, super good, I'd love to know as I reach it and be kind of even more excited to get to it. So thank you very much for watching, you guys. I really, really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It pushes the video out to even more people. And if you are a fan of the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps me a ton too. I'm planning on making more of these kind of videos and maybe a little less Let's Plays and focusing more on like actual gaming content and positive kind of vibes and kind of sharing my passion of video games and just gaming in general with you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.